It was just past midnight when the air began to change. You didn't hear anything, not exactly. There was no sound, no creak, no whisper. And yet, you felt it. The kind of silence that doesn't bring peace, but pressure. A thick, still kind of quiet that made you hold your breath without realizing it. Your room was dark, just as you liked it. The world outside seemed asleep. But something inside of you wasn't. Something inside you had stirred. You didn't know why, and you couldn't explain it. But you knew, tonight was different. Your eyes drifted toward the window. The moon hung motionless in the sky, casting light that felt too cold to be comforting. The shadows on the wall stretched long, still, but not lifeless. There was a presence in the room, though you couldn't see it. And somehow, you weren't surprised. You had felt this before. Maybe not exactly like this, but close. Not many people know what it feels like to be haunted by something that has no name. But you do. You've carried it for a while now. That lingering sensation that something is watching, something is waiting. Something from a night you've tried so hard to forget. But the past has a way of revisiting those who pretend it never happened. This message, it didn't come in a letter. It wasn't sent to your phone. There was no knock at the door. It arrived quietly, wrapped in energy, in chills across your skin, in the way your heart started pounding without warning. It was like someone had spoken your name without a voice, called out to something deeper in you, and whatever that something was, it remembered. You closed your eyes. Not because you were afraid, but because you needed to see differently. That's when the images began. Not dreams, not memories, something in between. A child crying in the dark. A candle flickering violently in a room with no wind. A key buried in the soil. A ticking clock that refused to stop. And finally, a name. A name you hadn't thought of in years. A name you had buried. But it had not forgotten you. You felt your chest tighten. Not from fear, but from knowing. This was real. Whatever was beginning again tonight wasn't just coincidence. Midnight came, and so did the message you've been avoiding. But you won't avoid it this time. Because this time, you're not alone. God is near. He has always been. Even when you felt abandoned. Even when no one believed your truth. Even when the silence nearly swallowed you whole. He was there, and he never stopped watching. Never stopped preparing the moment you would be ready to hear the message that's been waiting for you. And Archangel Michael, he's close. Not with wings and thunder, but with a calm so sharp it slices through the fear. He's standing guard, not because you're weak, but because you're chosen. You were meant to survive everything you went through, and now you're meant to hear what's coming next. Don't ignore it. Don't dismiss it. The chills you feel, the lump in your throat, the pressure behind your eyes, this is not fear. This is awakening. You were never crazy. You were never overreacting. You were sensing what others could not. And now, it's time. Midnight came. And so did the message you feared. But this time, you are stronger. You are wiser. You are covered by the hand of God Himself. And you are protected by the might of Archangel Michael. So breathe. Listen. And trust that whatever is about to be revealed is not here to destroy you. It's here to set you free. If you feel something stirring inside you right now, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe so this message reaches those still walking through their midnight hour. The message didn't stop at midnight. That was only when it began. You tried to sleep, but sleep avoided you like it knew what was coming. Your body lay still, but your soul was awake, listening. And that's when it came again, not as a word, but as a wave. A pull, deep in your chest, like something sacred was calling your spirit to attention. You sat up, not sure why. The room felt colder than it had minutes before, but not from any draft. This was something else. It was the kind of cold that touches your bones, the kind that whispers, "Be still. You're not alone." And you weren't. There was no figure in the corner. No ghostly face at the window. But still, you weren't alone. You felt it. The invisible weight of presence. The atmosphere wasn't empty. It was charged. Like something holy had entered the room, but was waiting for you to notice. You felt your breath deepen. Not from fear. From reverence. Your past was trying to speak. All those things you locked away, the unanswered questions, the moments you never told anyone about, the feelings you convinced yourself were just your imagination, they were rising now, like smoke from a long-dormant fire. And this time, you couldn't push them back down. Not this time. There's a strange power in memories you tried to forget. They don't stay buried forever. They wait. They wait until the silence is loud enough. Until the night is dark enough. Until your soul is quiet enough to finally hear what it's been avoiding. And so, you listened. The first thing you remembered wasn't a person. It was a feeling. The moment your trust was broken, not by what was done, but by who did it. The night everything changed. When the smile you trusted most became a stranger's mask. You remember the way your chest caved in, like your heart knew something before your mind could accept it. That was the night your world became divided, before and after. You never spoke of it. Not completely. You hinted. You hinted through broken phrases, through half-told stories, through pretending it didn't bother you. But it did. God knows it did. And that night, while the world slept and you stared into the ceiling, the voice returned, not a voice you could record, not one made of sound, but a truth you could finally hear. You were right to feel what you felt. It wasn't just in your head. You gasped. Because deep down, you didn't expect to be believed. Not even by God. But there it was. That undeniable, sacred knowing that the Creator of the universe had seen it all. Every silent tear. Every night you screamed into the pillow and wiped your eyes before anyone noticed. And that's when you felt him. Archangel Michael. You didn't see a vision. You didn't hear a trumpet blast. But there was this sense, this fierce, steady calm, like something massive was standing at your back. Unmoving. watching, guarding. You felt your fear retreat like it had just met something stronger than itself. That was him. Michael doesn't always come with fire and sword. Sometimes, he comes with stillness. With the assurance that your battle is being fought in realms you cannot see. That the darkness around you has already been pierced by light. And you? You're not breaking down. You're being broken open. Because the truth needs to come out. And the truth is this: you survived something that should have destroyed you. And that survival wasn't accidental. It was protected, covered, sheltered. You thought you were alone, but heaven was fighting for you all along. Now, the message becomes clearer. This isn't about punishing the past. This is about preparing you for what's ahead. Because if you don't face the shadows, they'll follow you forever. But if you turn around and face them with God beside you and Michael behind you, you'll see, they were never stronger than the light inside you. They only convinced you they were. You were made to rise. Not just in spite of what happened, but because of it. The wound didn't disqualify you. It marked you. It awakened something ancient in your spirit, something unbreakable. And now that it's awake, it's time. The clock that struck midnight wasn't just counting hours. It was announcing a shift. Your breakthrough, your reckoning, your healing, it all starts here. Don't silence what's rising now. Don't run from what's returning. Let it speak. Let it be witnessed. Let it burn, so it can be reborn. And when your heart trembles again, when fear whispers that you're not enough, or that no one will believe you, or that you're better off staying silent, remember this moment. God is near. Archangel Michael is here. You are not crazy. You are not weak. You are not alone. If these words are echoing something deep inside you, like this video, share it with someone you trust, and subscribe so more voices like yours can rise from the silence. The night wasn't over yet. Even though hours passed, even though the silence stretched like an ocean with no shore in sight, you hadn't moved much. The stillness wasn't paralyzing, it was sacred. It was holding space for something you didn't have words for. Something your soul had waited years to feel. You didn't cry. Not yet. It wasn't time for tears. It was time for truth. Because the message that came at midnight, it wasn't just a memory or a moment. It was a key. A key to everything you locked away. Everything you pretended to forget. Everything you swore you'd never open again. But the soul doesn't forget. The soul remembers it all. It remembers the room where the silence screamed louder than any words. It remembers the face that once smiled, then vanished like they never cared. It remembers how you waited for them to come back and explain, to say something, anything. But they never did. They left you with pieces of a story that never made sense. A goodbye that never truly ended. A wound that never got to close. And in the middle of that heartbreak, you whispered to God, not loudly, not with big prayers, but in pieces. Why did you let that happen? Where were you when I needed you? Did you even see what they did to me? And the strange thing is, God heard every whisper. Even the ones you didn't mean to say. Even the ones you felt guilty for feeling. Because you see, God never turned his face away from your pain. He didn't abandon you in the silence. He was there, in the crack of your voice, in the trembling of your hands, in the way you kept standing when everything inside you wanted to collapse. You survived on strength you didn't know you had. But now you know why. Because it wasn't just your strength. It was His. It was the strength of every angel assigned to you, especially one who's been closest since the beginning, Archangel Michael. He stood in places you couldn't see. He blocked things you never knew were aimed at you. He covered you when your walls broke down. You were never defenseless. You were never invisible to heaven. What happened to you wasn't right. And God never called it good. But He never let it go unnoticed. And now, that truth, the truth they buried and you carried, is being brought into light. Because healing isn't about pretending it didn't happen. It's about knowing you weren't alone when it did. The night you thought you broke was actually the night you bent toward something stronger. And now, that strength is rising again. You've started to notice it, haven't you? The way your spirit refuses to stay silent. The way your dreams are louder lately. The way your body feels something shifting in the unseen. That's not a coincidence. That's alignment. The message you feared wasn't meant to destroy you, it was meant to free you. It came to wake you up. To remind you of who you really are beneath all the pain, all the fear, all the pretending. You are not weak. You are not damaged. You are not forgotten. You are watched over. You are chosen. You are protected. And tonight, heaven is doing something only heaven can do, reversing what was meant to bury you, and using it to build you. Because your voice matters. Your story matters. Even the darkest parts. Especially the darkest parts. And that's why the message came when it did, when the world was quiet, when the distractions were gone, when all that remained was you, your memory, and God. He chose midnight because midnight is when transitions happen. It's not quite the end. And it's not yet the beginning. It's the bridge. And you, right now, are standing on that bridge. You're leaving behind what wounded you, and walking toward what will heal you. But to step forward, you must stop apologizing for surviving. You must stop explaining away your pain, as if it wasn't real. You must stop making yourself small so others stay comfortable. The truth is, your story has power. And if someone's uncomfortable with it, maybe it's because the light in you reveals the shadows in them. So keep shining. And when the doubt creeps in again, when fear asks you, who do you think you are? You'll answer differently this time. I am the one God never abandoned. I am the one Archangel Michael guards. I am the one who faced the darkness and kept walking. If those words echo in your soul, and you know you're walking the same bridge between who you were and who you're becoming, like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe to keep walking forward together. And now, we've reached the part you've been both running from and reaching for. It's strange how the heart works, isn't it? How it hides what we're not ready to face, until we become strong enough to see it not as a curse, but as a calling. Midnight came. The message came. And now comes the release. Not the kind of release where everything suddenly makes sense. Not the kind where pain vanishes and you're never afraid again. But the kind where you finally stop fighting yourself. Where you stop holding your breath every time a memory knocks. Where you stop punishing yourself for trusting, for loving, for hoping. You did what you could. With the pieces you had. With the broken map you were handed. And yet, you still arrived here. Not by accident. Not by luck. But by divine orchestration. Because God never took his hand off you. Even when your world cracked. Even when your faith thinned out like thread. Even when the message you feared most finally arrived and everything in you wanted to run. Still, he stayed. Still, he watched over you. Still, he whispered, "Child, you are not alone." That whisper, that holy voice that never raised itself, that didn't demand your attention with thunder, but came softly in the silence, that was him. God never shouted because he knew you'd only hear him once the noise was gone. Once everyone else left. Once you sat in the stillness of your own questions. And now, here you are. Still standing. Still breathing. Still open, even after all you've closed. Still tender, even after all the world hardened in you. That's not weakness. That's proof. Proof that there's something inside you that refuses to die. Something stronger than the betrayal. Stronger than the silence. Stronger than the fear that told you, "Don't open this door again." But you opened it anyway. And what you found wasn't a monster waiting to consume you. You found yourself. The version of you that never stopped believing there was more. The version that still reached for heaven in the dark. The version God never stopped seeing, never stopped loving. And now, as you look back at what tried to break you, you can finally say, it didn't win. You can look into the shadows and know that they held no power greater than the light that guided you through. Archangel Michael was there, you just didn't always feel him. He stood between you and what you weren't meant to carry. He fought battles in realms you couldn't see. He guarded your purpose, even while you doubted you had one. And now? Now he stands behind you still, taller, brighter, stronger than the fear that chased you. Not because you're fragile. But because you're important. Important to the plan of heaven. Important to the story of someone else who's still waiting for midnight to come. Because this was never just about you. This was about the others. The silent ones. The ones still carrying their own hidden truths. The ones who don't know they're being watched over. The ones who think they're too broken to be used by God. You've become a light for them now. Your healing is not just for you. Your voice. Your tears. Your midnight story. It's going to wake someone else up. It's going to help them believe they aren't cursed, just chosen for a deeper path. So, don't hide anymore. Don't minimize what you've walked through. Don't polish your pain to make it more digestible. Speak it. Live it. Shine with it. Because when you do, chains break in people you'll never meet. And in places you'll never stand, your testimony will echo. All because you didn't run when the message came. You listened. You received. You stood in the fire. And came out glowing. The story doesn't end at midnight. It begins there. It begins with a voice that says, "You are not what they did to you. You are not your shame. You are not too late. You are loved. You are seen. You are rising. And this time, you're rising with purpose." If this journey found something buried in your heart, something aching to be free, like this video, share it with someone walking through their own midnight, and subscribe so these stories can keep lighting the way for others still trapped in the dark. You thought the story ended when the truth surfaced. When the tears dried. When the message was finally received. But some stories, they don't end. They transform. Because healing isn't a finish line, it's a doorway. And the moment you stepped through it, something new began. The old you, the one who tiptoed through life, careful not to disturb the silence, the one who feared being too loud, too emotional, too broken, that version of you doesn't live here anymore. This version is awake, aware, and unafraid. You've crossed through the shadows. You've faced the night that tried to silence you. And now, you stand in a new kind of silence. Not the suffocating kind, but the kind that feels like peace. You can breathe now without second-guessing every inhale. You can trust again, not because people have changed, but because you have. You don't need the approval of the ones who left. You don't need closure from those who vanished. You found something stronger. You found God in the places they told you He would never show up. In the betrayal. In the heartbreak. In the confusion. In the quiet. And He never came to shame you. He came to lift you. To remind you that your survival was never random, it was sacred. And maybe, just maybe, that message you feared, it wasn't something outside of you. Maybe it was something buried within you. Waiting to be remembered. Waiting to be welcomed. Waiting to say, "You are the message." You, your story, your scars, your survival, are the message someone else has been praying for. And now, the very pain you once hid has become your power. Not because it's pretty. Not because it's perfect. But because it's real. And real is what heals. The world doesn't need more polished people. It needs more whole ones. And wholeness only comes from facing the midnight, standing in the silence, and listening until your soul speaks back. So as the hours stretch past midnight, and the morning light begins to touch the sky, you can stand in the doorway of your story and say, "I made it. I didn't break. I became." And when the enemy tries to whisper again, when fear tries to call you back into hiding, remember who guards you. Archangel Michael still stands at your back. The fire of heaven still surrounds you. And the God who saw you in your darkest hour is still writing your story in the light. You are not returning to the past. You are not repeating the cycle. You are not the victim. You are the one who heard the message at midnight, and lived to carry it into the dawn. So walk forward. Speak boldly. Shine without apology. The world has waited long enough for your light. If this final part gave you peace, clarity, or strength, like this video, share it with those who still feel stuck in the dark, and subscribe, because there is more light coming, and they'll need you to help them see it. You thought the darkness was the threat. But sometimes, it's the light that frightens us more. Because light doesn't just illuminate what's around you. It exposes what's been hiding within you. You spent so long surviving the shadows, you forgot what it felt like to be seen without fear. You adapted to silence, made peace with confusion, and learned to navigate pain like it was a second home. So when the light began to rise, not just around you, but inside you, it felt foreign, uncomfortable, even dangerous. Why? Because light is honest. It does not flatter. It reveals. And that's what this part of your journey is truly about, not just confronting what haunted you in the dark, but being willing to accept what the light is now asking you to become. You've walked through the night. You've stood in the silence. You've listened to the message that came at midnight. And still, something waits for you. It's not a warning. It's not a threat. It's an invitation. There's a presence waiting on the other side of all you've overcome, something sacred, something ancient, hovering just beyond the veil of fear. It's not demanding. It doesn't rush. It waits for your yes. This is the part of the story few ever reach. Not because they aren't called, but because they don't believe they're worthy of what's next. But you? You are. Not because you were perfect through your storm. Not because you never doubted, never stumbled. But because in the deepest part of your being, you never truly gave up. Even when your mind was tired. Even when your body broke down. Even when your spirit whispered, "I can't take any more," your soul kept burning. And God saw that. He saw the flicker of light you kept alive when everyone else walked away. He saw the courage it took just to keep breathing. He saw the way you protected your hope, even when it looked foolish to others. Now, the light that once scared you is rising within you. It's not coming to blind you, it's coming to awaken you. To reveal the glory that was always buried beneath the pain. To unlock the power that your trials tried to keep hidden. You are not who you were when this began. You've been refined. Burned down to your bones, yes. But reborn in the fire. And now, you walk with a different kind of authority. You listen more deeply. You feel more clearly. You see beyond the surface, because you've lived beneath it. You no longer fear silence, because you've made peace with your own. What others call coincidence, you call confirmation. What others brush off as chills, you know are divine nudges. What others ignore, you discern. And that's what terrifies the enemy most. Not that you made it through the pain, but that you came out of it with your vision sharpened. Your ears tuned to God's whisper. Your heart aligned with heaven. You may feel something watching you now. Not in the way fear watches prey, but in the way love watches over its own. It's not the shadows this time. It's not the past. It's not judgment. It's heaven. It's the steady, patient gaze of the one who's always seen you. God, still watching, still covering, still calling. And standing behind you, like a tower of fierce light. Archangel Michael. His presence doesn't demand attention, it commands peace. Not because he roars, but because everything dark goes silent when he stands still. He doesn't come to coddle. He comes to protect the calling. Because what's awakening in you now is more than healing. It's purpose. This is not the time to shrink back. This is the time to rise. Your voice is needed. Your story is sacred. Your scars are your sword. This is your mantle. Not handed down by man, but placed upon you by heaven itself. You don't need to be louder. You need to be clearer. You don't need to convince anyone. You just need to stand in what God already confirmed within you. Because now, the light is not your enemy. It's your assignment. And if that scares you, if it feels like too much, too soon, remember this: you weren't made for comfort. You were made for calling. You were made to walk through the dark and carry back the light for others who haven't found it yet. That's why you're still here. Not because it was easy, but because you were chosen to become the proof that survival is not the end of the story, it's the beginning of a greater one. So walk boldly. Shine fully. And speak the truth that nearly died inside you. Let the light fall wherever it must. And when you feel doubt creeping in again, stand tall and remind the shadows, I didn't survive just to stay silent. I survived to carry the fire. If this part touched something deeper in you, if you felt seen, called, or awakened, like this video, share it with someone still stuck in the dark, and subscribe so the fire in you keeps lighting the way for others. So here you are. Not the same person who began this journey. Not the same heart that trembled at midnight. Something in you has shifted forever. And now, with all the pieces laid before you, the silence, the message, the shadows, the light, there's one final door left to open. It doesn't creak. It doesn't rattle. It stands still, solemn, sacred, waiting for your hands. This door isn't to your past. It isn't to the future either. It's to the present moment, the part of your life you used to skip over, too afraid to live in what's real, too overwhelmed to sit still inside the now. But God doesn't live in the regrets of yesterday or the fears of tomorrow. He lives in this breath. This very one. And so, before you reach for that door, before you walk through it, you pause. Not from fear. From reverence. Because you can feel it now, can't you? The weight of what you've survived. The power of what you carry. The purpose behind why you're still here. And you realize, this was never just a midnight experience. This was an awakening. This wasn't about ghosts or fear or trying to solve some mystery someone else left behind. This was about what you had forgotten. What your soul buried. What heaven never gave up on. The message you feared was never just a warning. It was a mirror. And now, standing on the other side of that reflection, is you. The real you. The raw you. The resurrected you. And what you see now isn't someone broken or confused or haunted. You see someone holy. Yes, holy. Not because you're perfect, but because you are finally whole. And there's something else now. Something rising in your spirit. It doesn't feel like pressure anymore. It feels like permission. Permission to breathe again. Permission to speak freely. Permission to move forward without dragging every wound with you. Permission to leave the door of midnight behind, and walk into the morning. And if you still feel something at your back, that's not fear. That's Archangel Michael. Still standing. Still watching. Still guarding. You were never sent through this battle without protection. He walked with you, sword drawn in the unseen, fending off things you'll never have to understand. Because some battles weren't yours to fight, just yours to survive. And survive, you did. You've crossed the veil now. You've faced the voice in the night. You've felt the presence in the silence. You've heard the voice of God not in thunder, but in stillness. And now, the door opens. You don't knock. You don't hesitate. You walk through. Because what's waiting on the other side is not more pain. It's promise. Promise that your story matters. Promise that your voice will never go unheard again. Promise that your light is real, and it's needed. So rise now. Let the echo of midnight become the fire of morning. Let your story be heard by the heavens and the hurting. Let your wounds be your wisdom. And when the world tries to forget who you are again, you won't. Because now, you remember. If this final part gave you peace, strength, or a sense of closure, or if it lit something new in your heart, like this video, share it with someone walking through their own midnight and subscribe so that the next message, the next healing, the next fire, finds them in time.